Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nagasa from Sanyii Academy. Today, I'm going to deliver a lesson on logic and the critical thinking. As I just started to deliver courses on Sanyii Academy YouTube channel, today I just come with logic and critical thinking. You can also follow this channel through social media links, through Facebook page, Telegram channel, LinkedIn page, and also Twitter. I would like you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video so as to help others access this video. And also, I would like to call your attention to follow, give constructive comments to help me improve all lessons I just upload to this academy. Directly, I just go to today's lesson, other part of core branch of philosophy. So today we are going to see about axiology and logic, which are important component of philosophy, important branches of philosophy. So today we are going to see axiology and logic and also other necessary parties, necessary issues connected to these branches of philosophy. So what is axiology? In the previous lesson, we have seen about metaphysics and epistemology. So today we are going to see axiology. Therefore, what is axiology? Axiology is the theory of value. What is to mean by value? Value is the worth of something. The worth of something. What is kept or what is trapped, the value that is trapped in something. So it studies about value. Basically, the word axiology came from Greek word which is axios, which means value, and logos, which is directly translated to the study of or science of or theory of. Therefore, when we combine these two Greek words together, we obtain the meaning, the study of value. So, axiology is the study of value, or simply, it is the study of the worth of something. It is a philosophical study of value which originally meant to the worth of something. So when we search for something, some value, some worth in something, then we are conducting the study of it. Therefore, axiology is a branch of philosophy that studies about worth of something, value of something. So it has some basic and fundamental questions help us to dig to the deeper about this study. So axiology asks the philosophical questions of values that what a person or a society regards as good or preferable. There are questions that we depend on to investigate the value of something, the importance of something, the significance of something. Therefore, this axiology raises these fundamental questions that the society want to find in some particular issue, some particular object, some particular things. So these questions are basically what is value? When we ask of a question in axiology, we have to fully understand what value is. So this helps us to go further and understand the detail that is connected to this value. So what is value? This is the basic question. The second, what is the source of values? Where do these values come from? It is asking about the source of these values. What are the sources? Where is the source? and how they came to the point we are discussing. Where do these values come from? And other one is, how do we justify our values? Those words that we ascribe to things, that we give to things. How can we justify? For example, we say something is beautiful. How can we justify the word beautiful, the word beauty that we find in something or some person? This is a value. In this case, when we say something is very important, then how we justify the value of importance we find in some particular object. We need to have justifiable ground, justifiable approach to know and clarify this value. The other one is, when we say something is valuable or important or significant, then how do we know what is valuable? How do we know something is valuable? What are the justifications? What are the criteria that we have to justify what we say is valuable? What is the relationship between values and knowledge? What is the connection between value and knowledge? So we have to know the value of something and also the value or the values connection with epistemology or knowledge. So what kind of values exists? Can it be demonstrated that one value is better than another? The value of something is better than another. Or how can we demonstrate that? Who benefits from those values, those words, those importance, significance? Who is the direct beneficiary? Who is the indirect beneficiary? We have to see. This axiology does studies of values in three areas. Number one is ethics or moral philosophy, studies about the moral values. So we see value, moral value in that aspect. Aesthetics, studies about beauty. So we see the value of beauty, art, and enjoyment. And the other one is social or political philosophy about civil society. These are areas in which we deal with values under the umbrella of axiology. Ethics or moral philosophy. We know ethics or moral philosophy is a branch of philosophy that deals with moral principles, values, codes, and rules used as standards for determining what kind of human conduct or action is it to be good or bad, right or wrong. It is studies about the standards, rules, guidelines, values that we use to determine the rightness and good wrongness of an action, goodness and badness of human action. These are a guideline. In this case, we are looking about the value of human action. It is connected to the value that axiology is talking about. Depending on this, ethics raises various questions regarding values. What are those questions? Number one, what is good or bad? This is a question that ethics is raising. Ethics uses those standards, those rules, values of conduct that are mentioned. In this way, it determines the truth value of human action. Basically, ethics is studies about morality, or the subject matter of ethics is morality. Morality is the value that human action has directly. Ethics uses standards to decide the moral status of a person or human action. It raises this question: what is good and bad? What is the source of them? What is right and wrong? Is it right principle or good in that makes human action or conduct moral? There are two approaches in especially normative ethics to decide the rightness and the wrongness of an action. The first one is consequentialism, which focuses on the consequence of the action to determine the rightness and wrongness of an action. And the second one is deontology, which focuses on the means, the way that we use to act the action, the motive we have for that action that determines the rightness and wrongness of an action. Ethics raises a question of, is it following the right principle, which is espoused by deontological ethics, or good in, which is espoused by consequentialism, and teleological ethics, basically, that determines human actions as a moral or immoral. Is an action right because of its good end, or it is good because of its right principle? What makes an action a right action? Is it good end result, the benefit that it produces, as consequentialism says, or because of that action follows right principle, which is a reason or which is a ground for the action? This is a question that is raised by ethics, because ethics sees or investigates the values hidden in that action. Are moral principles universal, objective, unconditional, or relative, subjective, and conditional? This is the nature to investigate the nature of ethical principles, moral principles. Do we have universal moral principles? Do we have objective moral decision making principles? Do we have unconditional principles, moral principles that guide any action, irrespective of time, irrespective of person, irrespective of place? Or are these moral principles relative, depend on the person's perception, preference, or understanding, subjective decision making, or conditional, depend on the status of that person? This is a moral questions that ethics raises so as to search for values in human conduct. And that, what is the ultimate foundation of moral principles? What are the foundations? Is it the society or God? Or is it something, some sort of contract or human reason? With these three basic questions are raised here. The supernatural God, for example, divine command theory says moral principles are given by God. On the other, human reason, social contract theory, social custom theory talks about the agreement. Does God exist? If so, is he benevolent and omnipotent? So the value of determining how God is just benevolent to human being. If God is benevolent, why he creates everything is because the action of human being has two sides, we say, the rightness and wrongness side. If God does not create evil things, then there must be another creator who is responsible to the creation of evil things. But if it is so, how can God be an omnipotent creator? This is basically connected to the nature, the source of badness, the source of evil things, because human actions are depending on these things. They're subject to moral decision making of rightness and wrongness. If God is right and prefers right principles, then everything should be right. There should not be evil things. If God is omnipotent, but these problems are happening, then how can we make decision? What the value of believing in God? Why we honor and obey moral rules? What are the justifications we have to honor and respect moral rules for the sake of our own individual benefit, or for the sake of others, or just for the sake of fulfilling our infallible duty? These are uh, justifications we have to give to find some sort of reason and importance or words in following those moral principles. This is what ethics is focusing on. This ethics is classified into three. Ethics has three branches. Number one is normative ethics, and the second one is meta ethics, and the third one is applied ethics. What these three branches of ethics deals with. So let us see one after the other. Normative ethics is a branch of ethics that attempt to study and determine precisely the moral rules, principles, standards, and goals by which human beings might evaluate and judge the moral rules or moral value of their conduct, actions, and decisions. So basically, normative ethics is a set of norms or rules that are set in order to determine the moral values, the moral actions, evaluate and judge the human actions. For example, you shall not lie is normative rule. So based on that rule, we decide the rightness and the wrongness of an action that is committed by a person. We decide whether that person committed right action or wrong action based on that principle. You shall not steal, for example, is also another principle. You shall not murder. These kind of principles and rules are pegged to religious actions, religious dogmas. So, and this is a combination, set of rules that we depend on to decide and assess the rightness and wrongness of human action. This is the reason to search for principles of human conduct. We depend on reason to search for those principles to find the value of human action. A critical study of the major theories about which things are good, which acts are right, and which acts are blameworthy. So, in this aspect, we depend on some theoretical frameworks. Under normative ethics, I just said, some theoretical frameworks are important to decide about our action or to determine about the moral worth of something. So, for example, consequentialism or teleological ethics is one of the normative ethical theory, and deontological ethics is another, and virtue ethics are those theoretical frameworks we depend to judge or determine the value and the justification of human action. Normative ethics is depending or composed of set of rules that we use to indicate and judge the value of human action, our conduct, our action and decisions. And the second branch of ethics is meta-ethics. Meta-ethics is another branch of ethics that is highly technical philosophical discipline that deals with investigation of the meaning of ethical terms. Ethical terms, for example, good, right, wrong, bad, just, unjust. These are ethical terms. And also critical study of how ethical statements can be verified. When we say something is good, can we verify that thing is good really? It raises questions like, what is good? What is the source of good? Where does it come from? What does it mean when we say something is good? What does it mean when we say something is wrong? What does it mean when we say something is just and unjust? We try to understand and clarify more about ethical terms and the source of these things. More concerned with the meaning of such ethical terms, good, bad, right, wrong, than with what we think is good or bad or right or wrong. It is basically giving justification about the meaning of ethical terms, about the meaning of ethical terms and the source of those ethical terms. These are the theories of metaethics: moral intuitionism, moral emotivism, moral prescriptivism, moral nihilism, and ethical relativism. These are metaethical theories we depend on to know the meaning and the source of ethical terms. The third one is applied ethics. Applied ethics is another branch of ethics, the third branch of ethics, that attempts to explain, justify, apply moral rules and principles, standards, and positions to specific moral problems, such as, for example, capital punishment, euthanasia, abortion, adultery, animal right, and so on. It is a controversial decision making approach. An issue to be an applied ethical issue, it must have certain principles or characters. Number one, it should be controversial issue. The second, it should be moral issue. And the third, it should be specific. These are the characteristics of applied ethical issue. These applied ethical issues should be explained, justified, depending on normative theoretical base or normative theoretical frameworks. We need theories to explain our position. Let me give you one example here so as to make it clear and also understandable. Let us take this euthanasia. What is euthanasia? Euthanasia is mercy killing. It is a killing that you commit on someone you think you are helping. Assume someone is suffering from disease which is not curable. Assume someone, Mr. X, is suffering from the disease which is not curable. So you see the suffering of that person and the damage that the family is experiencing because of the disease of that person, because of the sickness of that person. What kind of moral decision making you take? Do you have to kill that person thinking that this is the best solution for that person than extending or suffering of that person? You have to kill or you have to leave him in that suffering. Do you have moral responsibility to kill that person and in his suffering, or you have moral responsibility not to kill that person and see him suffering from that incurable sickness or disease? So there are different philosophical positions regarding this. Some might say, yes, I have to kill that person and save him from this elongated suffering. And the other may say, no, my religion does not allow me to kill a person or to take life, so it is sin. We see different philosophical positions, arguments regarding this one. Abortion. Does a woman have a right to abort unborn baby or not? Is it right to commit a sex before marriage or not? This is very controversial issue. This area of normative ethics is termed applied ethics because ethicists applies or uses general ethical principles in an attempt to resolve specific moral problems. Let us apply two ethical theories here to abortion. Let us apply two ethical theories, normative ethical theories. From that, let us take consequentialism. If that thing, abortion, gives pleasure for a woman than having a baby, then she has to do, because the end product of that action determines the rightness of the action. According to deontological ethics, it is following the principles and motives that we have to adhere to. Divine command theory, which is another branch of deontological ethics, says moral principles are given by God. So according to God, killing life is a sin, so you don't have to do it. Here there is a controversy among ethicists. Which principle should they follow? This is what applied ethics is. Generally, these are the three main branches of ethics. And the second one is aesthetics. Aesthetics is a theory of beauty. It is a theoretical framework, deals with beauty. What is the value of the beauty of something? It studies about the value of our artistic and aesthetic experiences. You might say a given picture is very beautiful. What does that mean? What is beauty? You might say someone is good looking. What does that mean? How do you see the value of that thing? It is the theory of beauty. It is a justification that we have to rely on to get the value of beauty. Deals with beauty, art, enjoyment. It is it. The following are typical aesthetical questions. For example, what is art? Art. It may be drawing, it may be painting, it may be sculpting or others. What is art? What is beauty? What is the relation between art and beauty? You might see some artistic depiction by an artist and say that is very beautiful. So what is the connection? What is the relation between the art and the beauty that you are ascribing to? You might say some woman is beautiful, or you might say some person, some guy is very handsome. So what is the connection between the guy and the woman and the beauty that you are ascribing to? What is the connection between art, beauty, and truth? We say some artistic picture or some artistic gallery is very beautiful. Then is what you said, what you ascribe to that art is a truth. So what is the connection between these three things? Beauty, art, and truth. Can there be any objective standard by which we may judge the beauty of artistic works or beauty is subject? Is there objective standards that we depend to decide the beauty of something? Or it is something depending on the subjective explanation, subjective projection of a person. We have to see this. What is artistic creativity and how does it differ from scientific creativity? The relationship between artistic creativity and scientific creativity. This has to be made the difference. Why works of art are valuable? So, what is the justification and reason? What is the ground behind the value of works of artists? We see people are presenting, people are doing, people are just giving their life for. This is what we have to know. Can artistic work communicate? Can a picture that is drawn by a person communicate to me? What kind of communication is there? If so, what do they communicate? Assume somebody put artistic presentation in a gallery. Does that artistic work communicate to you when you look at it? What sort of communication do they have? What does that artistic presentation communicate to you? That is a question that aesthetics is presenting. So, does art have any moral value and obligation or constraints? And also, are there standards of quality in art? Or to decide their beauty, their importance and significance? Do we have standards? And the other one is social and political philosophy. Social or political philosophy studies about the value judgment operating in civil society, be it in social or political. So the value that we look for in social or political life of the people. The following questions are some of the social or political philosophy questions. For example, what form of government is the best? Is it a democratic or autocratic or communist or other type of government is best? We are seeing or we are considering the value of which type of government is important to the social life and the political life of the people. And the other, what economic system is the best? Is it free market economy? Is it command market economy or mixed economy, which is appropriate for the people of certain country or for the people of the world? We are looking for the value in that economic system. What is justice and injustice? So, what is the value of justice and what the value or the impact of injustice? What makes an action or judgment just an action unjust? What is society? Does society exist? If does, how does it came to existence? So we are looking about the social philosophy, how society came into existence and what is the purpose of society. How are civil society and government came to exist? Civil societies are those people exercising their right based on the law they make by their own agreement, contract, how they came to exist and how the government that is ruling civil society came into existence. This is the main issue we have to raise under social or political philosophy. Are we obliged to obey all laws of the state? The states make law using their own organs that are responsible of making laws. And then as a citizen, do I have responsibility and obligation to obey all laws that is made by the government or by the states? What is the purpose of government? Why is a government itself is existing? What is the purpose or what is the reason behind the existence of the government? The other one is logic. Even the name of this course by itself is logic and critical thinking. So logic is another branch of philosophy. So logic is a study or theory of principles of right reasoning. What is meant by reasoning? This is a capacity, the ability to produce evidences and bringing them together so as to make it defendable. So Logic is a study or the theory or principles of right reasoning. What is right reasoning and what the principles should a person follow to make right reasoning? It deals with formulating the right principles of reasoning. We have to formulate the right principles of reasoning and also develop scientific methods to evaluate the validity and soundness of argument we produce, because arguments are the philosophical position, logical positions that we use to present our reasoning in defending or arguing against something. So when we do this, we have to depend on the right reasoning that determines the validity and the soundness of our argument. So these are the following questions raised by logic. What is an argument? It starts from uh, asking questions about the meaning of argument. So, and also the action of argument. What does it mean to argue? So, when we argue, what does that mean? Or what implications and meaning does that arguing have? What makes an argument valid or invalid? That means talking about the rational justifications and principles here. What is sound argument? When we say sound, we are talking about true argument. So, what is to mean by sound argument, and how does this sound argument comes? And what are the parameters we have to look to determine the soundness of an argument? What relation do premise and the conclusion have in argument? Without premises and the conclusion, we cannot have argument, because argument is the combination of these two things, premises and the conclusion. What is the relationship between that? Because premise is present is evidence, and conclusion depend on the evidences presented by these premises. How can we formulate and evaluate argument? It also asks means, ways, methods of formulating argument, and also methods of evaluating argument. We are going to see this under chapter 2. What is fallacy finally? What makes an argument fallacious? Fallacy basically is a defect in argument, or either intentionally or unintentionally. There are two types of fallacies, formal and informal fallacies. We are going to look at them under chapter 5. This is what logic is about. Generally, this lesson helps us to know about the branches of philosophy which are important, because we use them in our daily life. They are connected to our daily life. I would like to again remind you to subscribe, like, and share, and comment on this academy, and inform other people to be member. It doesn't request you to contribute a penny. Rather, you have to give your subscription, like, and comment, and hit the subscription button to get notified every time new videos are uploaded to Sanyii Academy. Thank you. Have a nice time. Until next time. Bye bye.